Hello and welcome to the EduGames channel. This is Josiah and I have opinions on gaming stuff. Now, sorry about the lighting. I'm recording this at a later time in the day. I'm hoping that kind of the residual light from the rest of the day is going to kind of light up my face enough. I look really dark, but that's fine. You can see me. Time for theory stuff. And this theory kind of came to my mind at first when my friend at work, actually, he said, well, maybe, because I basically told him, I said, well, because this is what it kind of feels like. It feels like there are all these puzzle pieces. I have so much material to work with. Stuff from Skyward Sword, stuff from Link Between Worlds. There's so much things connecting, and I'm like, I just can't quite put the puzzle pieces in the correct order. And so my friend said, well, maybe the title of the game has something to do with it. And I was like, what? I mean, Breath of the Wild is kind of a generic kind of name. I think it's just referring to the fact that it's an open world and it's huge. But then when I really thought about it, I'm like, Breath of the Wild. It's not really referring to, oh, it's just the wild. There's a breath. So I was like, that's interesting. So I played a bit more of Skyward Sword and I stumbled upon the Temple of Time. Why is that significant? Well, if you've seen any of my previous videos or a previous video, you'll see that I made or that Rauru, the temple sage, he made the Temple of Time long after Skyward Sword. The actual Temple of Time that you find in Ocarina is not the same as the Temple of Time in Skyward Sword, and it also has the Hylian crest above it. It has the Triforce with the crest, with the bird crest, and I was like, that's interesting, because we don't really see that very often in Skyward Sword. All we see that on is the Hylian shield. Everything else is a devolved version of that, which I found interesting. And I actually just thought of something just now, and I'll talk about that later. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's worth noting. So you walk up and you talk to the Goron, who is the ancient kind of person who's studying ancient stuff, and he's saying, and he basically said there was a woman, there was a human from the sky who was dressed like the goddess in the ancient, or dressed like somebody in the ancient manuscripts. I forget what he says. And when I heard when I saw ancient manuscripts, I was like, is he referring to the back of the map, the tapestry? If that's what he's referring to, then yes, she is wearing a white dress. And so I was like, oh, it's really interesting. And it said she came down to the earth and they went and they bombed this area, and that's significant too. So moving on, I went into the temple, and there wasn't anything significant. I thought of something. I thought that, well, perhaps, I thought back to what my friend said, and I thought, well, maybe the Breath of the Wild, and maybe this blue stuff, what do we call it? I'm just saying blue stuff. What do we call it? What is it? They're time shift stones, but there's this thing in these time shift stones. If we believe that there's this kind of juice in them that kind of flows through, it's kind of like electricity. What is this thing? And my first thoughts came to the Force. If you've been deeply into Hyrule Historia at any time, you'll know that the Force actually exists in Hyrule, and it almost works exactly like the Force in Star Wars, almost. Because what it does, it flows through everything. It's kind of like the same, it flows through all things, and it's this kind of life, So I was like, Hyrule Historia calls it the breath of life itself, which I was like, holy crap, perhaps the Breath of the Wild, what that game is referring to, perhaps that's referring to this blue aura that was referred to on that tapestry, and that is in the Ocarina of Time. That is all of these things. So I was like, that's really awesome and interesting. Now, as I went through the dungeon, there wasn't really anything super worth noting. The only really thing worth noting was that if you've been in that dungeon, you'll know that there are these panels on these walls, and it's kind of like a tapestry, or kind of like an art of an ancient robot, and it's holding kind of like a bowl, and the bowl comes out, and you throw a bomb at it, inside the bowl and it'll blow up and it'll fall down. I just kind of noted that ball, if you put it upside down, it kind of looks like the head of one of these small ancient robots, one of the smaller ones. That was just kind of a note. I don't think it's really significant, but it could be. Who knows? But then, as I went through the dungeon, nothing really grabbed my attention. Nothing really grabbed my eye until what did I do? I went into the room after you beat the boss, and holy crap, you hit the time shift stone that's once again has that kind of ancient Sheikah look to it, Oh yeah, another note. Those other stones, the other time shift stones that are smaller and aren't as big and don't have that Sheikah symbol on them, they kind of have these circles and lines on them, like the circles connect the lines, almost as if like it's kind of like a constellation. And it kind of reminded me of what the inside of the shrines look like in Breath of the Wild, and that kind of got me. I was like, oh, so that connects to that, and that connects to that. Okay, so if those are all, I just thought that was significant. But regardless, you go into that room and you hit that time shift stone, and everything turns blue. Like the whole room turns blue. There's light everywhere, and it's like, oh my goodness. So, and you go, and there's all these statues of ancient robots, and they're saluting whoever is going towards that. And right after you get out of that, you hit the temple of you hit the door of time, which is like, oh my goodness, like that's actually what whoever they're saluting is incredibly important. And then comes a cutscene. Now, if you've seen the cutscene, I saw this cutscene, and I almost crapped my pants because I was thinking about this whole theory thing and everything. I was thinking about it, and if you remember the cutscene after that, if you guys have played Skyward Sword, it shows Girahim. He comes in and he's trying to, kill the princess or whatever, or the goddess. She's not really a princess yet. And Impa uses a force field to protect herself and Zelda from Girahim's attack. She uses a blue aura force field. I saw it. I was like, she's a Jedi. She's using the Force. She's using the breath of life, the breath of the wild. She's using it. And I was like, oh my goodness. And she's using it, and Girahim keeps whacking at it. And of course, if you've seen it, Link gets the harp and he goes towards, and he keeps Girahim occupied while Impa and Zelda escape. And Impa's there, and she does this little orb of blue energy. And then she drops the blue orb, and it makes a bomb, and it explodes. The blue bombs that you make in Breath of the Wild. You make a bomb out of them. There's a bomb and you throw it and it explodes, just like the bomb that she made, except she controlled it. It wasn't through some sort of technology. It's using the same technology. It can be made as bombs. It can be used as time control devices. It can use as be for powering things. I was like, oh my goodness, all of this is like, it's the same thing. This blue aura, all of this is the same. So it really blew my mind. And then all of a sudden, I came across, what did I come across? Oh yeah, I thought of this. When I looked at Impa has this bleach blonde hair, and she's got darker skin. I didn't know who the princess looked like in that tapestry on the back of that map. But then I began to think, what if that's Impa? What if the original hero was Ganondorf, and the original princess was Impa? And they fought Calamity Ganon. Now, I was thinking, okay, hold on, wait, let's slow down a bit. What evidence is there of this? And I thought about it, and I looked at the tapestry, and I thought, wait, hold on a second. There's a Temple of Time, and there is a time door. There's a time door. What if, bear with me, but what if there was a I would say a descendant, not a descendant, but an ancestor of Ganon, and a Ganondorf, an ancestor of Impa. They tried to defeat Calamity Ganon. They failed. Goddess Hylia, before failing, throws them into the future. To show them not only what their failure has wrought, but also to help the hero who would eventually defeat Calamity Ganon. That's why at the beginning of that game, the old man, who appears to be kind of like Ganondorf, who I'm thinking is the original hero, if he's the original hero, then what does that mean? That means, oh my goodness, freaking, he's helping Link. It makes complete sense how he's helping Link. It makes sense why he knows everything about the Calamity Ganon. It makes sense why he's so reluctant to tell Link who he is. It's like that makes perfect sense as to why that character's there. If that character's from the past into the future, he's a complete hobo. He doesn't know how to live here. And he's waiting. He's sitting there and he's looking at the hero. Perhaps the reason why that Triforce and wings are there, and perhaps why the Hylian shield is in that game, is because maybe the time trial. You get the Hylian shield from the electricity dragon in the desert, and he kind of has this blue aura going through him too. Maybe he's got that shield through traveling through time. Who knows, right? So, sorry this video looks terrible. It's really dark. I might go with another one. I'm probably not going to go with another one. I'm probably just going to go with this one because it's late. I'm gonna do this. I'm sorry I look so secretive. I'm looking like I'm in a closet or something, being crazy, like, oh, guys, I gotta tell you the theory. But thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, or if you want to have a discussion about this video, you have an opinion, comment put it in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys later.